There's no point in having humanity against a monster. Before I have a review of chapter 332 of My Hero Academia, please do me a favor, leave your own thoughts on the chapter in the comment section down below, leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, make sure you hit that little notification bell so you don't miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Now, let's get into it. What's up guys, I'm Punch, and here we are to chapter 332 of My Hero Academia, which is known as New Model Hypersonic Intercontinental Ballistics by Kohei Horikoshi. And like, it was inevitable. I'm not gonna lie, it was inevitable. Like, everyone and their mother knew Stars and Stripes was going to lose. How she was going to lose was just always the question. And I guess if this is the way she has to go out, it's fine. It emphasizes the point. You know, let me just hop into the chapter itself. So we open up the chapter and we get a flashback to seeing Star and Stripe back in possibly her military training days. I'm not exactly sure where this is, because it doesn't necessarily give us, is this the military? It looks like the military, and she seems to have deep ties to the U.S. government, so this is possibly her military career beforehand, and we see that this is her discussing the idea that she has a limit to biologically empowering herself. And the reason people assume she can't reach All Might level is because she's a woman. And, like, you know, there's no, like, I can't even excuse it, but this is an excuse people would come up with. Because of course, why not? I mean, why not? Because, you know, of course, obviously it's because of women. Obviously because there's just can't be limitations to quirks and stuff like that. Why aren't you as strong as All Might, all the men out there? Come on now. Just go to the gym, I guess, if y'all really think y'all can do that. All the super strength quirks out there. 1v1 Star and Stripes, and don't die. Yeah, that's it. But seriously, I don't know where that excuse came from. Like, there are just limitations to quirks. We've seen this before. I don't know why they suddenly, especially considering she herself says she's may not be as strong as All Might, but she's not too shabby. Like, she managed to blitz a 99 something percent, 98% Shigaraki, who, when he was way off from being complete, was already apparently comparable to All Might, at least in Endeavor's own eyes. So I don't really see the point here. Like, come on now, guys. But the thing is, we see that, you know, that's just your bad old, I'm not allowed to say that word, but you know what I'm talking about. It's the bad old stuff against people of the opposite gender or people of different genders. And we see that Star and Stripe has this connection with these people she calls her brothers. These people that have been with her since forever, and they've been the ones that are supporting her. They are her footholds. They are her standing. She's the reason. They're the reason she's where she is in the world, and she wouldn't be able to be here without them. And of course, Horikoshi shows us this flashback in the chapter that Star and Stripe loses, because these guys are, while the entire reason Stars and Stripe can be here, the entire reason why she loses. But we'll get into that. We get to see that the Tiamat has arrived. And the interesting thing is that Stars, like, she has to touch them, but she has to let go of the laser rule. So I'm assuming, let's see, laser rule and air construct. So she isn't super strong right now. So the question becomes, which rule did she get? Did Horikoshi I'm not sure if that's Horikoshi forgetting. I'm not sure if I'm missing something, because she does imply that the lasers thing is a rule. And we know the air construct is literally what's holding Shigaraki down right now by directing the laser spear. So, like, is it 3 rules? Is it 3? Because she somehow, I mean, we know that base humans in My Hero Academia, for some reason, are still, like, legitimately insane. Like, you have characters like Aizawa, characters like Mirio, like these essentially characters who have quirks that have nothing to do with their strength and or speed, that are able to fly around and react to these super crazy levels. But for someone who had such an emphasis on super speed, and that being a boost from her quirk, that doesn't seem to matter much to her when she literally has to go ahead and leap from where she was off a plane to intercept. I mean, maybe see, she reacts to them and grabs them with the air construct and then leaps. So it's possible. Why does she, before my arms blow off, Tiamat will rotate? I'm jumping ahead. We get to see that both Star and Stripe and Shigaraki are in this, like, let's just finish this. We are done with each other. This battle's been going on for too long. Let's just end it all. And Star and Stripe goes in for this finishing move, and she manages to leap off the plane and grab the intercontinental ballistic missiles Tiamat. And she manages, I guess because they're all touching, she managed to get Tiamat to rotate around. And I wonder what that does. Like, is it rotate around? What was the point of that one? I'm not sure. Like, if she was able to grab them in her hand, or at least in the air construct's hands, why wouldn't you not just swing it around or like grab it and then use the momentum and slam it into Shigaraki right then and there? Why would they have to rotate around? And we get this weird thing where we see something launch out of the ocean, and Star and Stripe, by having the missiles rotate around, manages to swing the missiles in the air construct's hand and create this new model hypersonic intercontinental ballistic punch. And with her construct empowered by Tiamat, she manages to absolutely just decimate the entire area. That's a gargantuan explosion of just raw power and energy. And honestly, I wonder what these things are powered by, because if they're powered by the nuclear stuff, that's a destroyed ecosystem right there, Star, and you're gonna be gone. So there's no one to fix it. But then we get to see that somehow both, I mean, maybe the air construct didn't survive. I don't actually see it. Hold on. Did the air construct survive? Yeah, it did. The air construct is still there. So in terms of durability, at least going off of what All For One says later on in the chapter, it seems like this air construct has more raw durability than this almost complete Shigaraki, which is kind of insane when you think about it. Like, worst comes to worst, hide in the air construct and just keep beating him up. Like, if he's never going to be able to get through, and as he says himself later in the chapter, that would have been a fatal wound to him if it had hit him, and the air construct was able to pretty much eat that. Literally, the fist is still on there. I don't know what the point was. But then we get to see that after the guys ask what's his status, and Endeavor sees like the after effects of the explosion from the coast, it seems like there's just a random hole in the ground. And I'm not sure if that's purposeful or if it's like just purely accidental because you make a hole in the ground. But it looks like that hole in the ground that Star notices is just like the center of Shigaraki's hand, because it's just like the All For One hole that he has in the center of his palm. I'm pretty sure that's just like artistic coincidence, or that could be purposeful, because no one comes out of the hole except for All For One himself. And see, this is the wild thing about the durability. Like, it's see, is that the lasers, or is that the repercussions of like the sheer echoing shockwave of Tiamat? Because depending on what it is, golly, Stars and Stripe, like, just air construct alone is insanely above Shigaraki, because he comes out missing all of his skin. He's in the middle of regenerating. He just was soaking in the water, and we see this thing. And honestly, there's like, we've been talking about in the comments how this is possibly Shigaraki, possibly All For One. A lot of people just believe it's straight Shigaraki, but I'm still more so on what All For One was saying at the end of like 2 chapters ago, where there's like an entirely new being that sort of happens to have both consciousnesses at once. Because in my mind, Shigaraki, like, he wouldn't be thinking this clearly, because this monologue we read is in the first person. He's like, I figured she was up to something. From our exchange so far, I could confirm that. Like, Shigaraki wouldn't use the word confirm. He would be like, I found out the idea that blah blah blah, 2 rules, blah 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 blah. Like, Shigaraki's thought process, even after his evolution, is still somewhat childish and playful. Meanwhile, this just seems like purely concrete and like methodical. There we go. That's the word. Methodical thinking in comparison to like crazy leap around, destroy everything, man, which is what Shigaraki sort of was at the war arc, which is where we last saw Shigaraki as fully Shigaraki. So I do believe Shigaraki's mannerisms are definitely influencing All For One, and vice versa. All For One is definitely influencing Shigaraki. So I definitely see this whole like new person perspective, because they're referencing things in ways that another character wouldn't, while still interacting in ways that one character would. And we see that Shigaraki, just like me, he used bait. Oh my. Oh shoot. But no, this man Shigaraki used the Nomu as bait, and essentially the Nomu is what got vaporized, while Shigaraki used his manifested control over decay to burrow into the ground. And he straight up admits, if I was even a millisecond late, it would have been a fatal wound. So it's likely that it wasn't really the lasers that were did this insane damage to Shigaraki. It was the after effect of Tiamat after it followed him into his ocean hole. And Star and Stripe's air construct was just like, my hand's pretty strong though. So yeah, I don't know, like, we'll talk about Stars and Stripe and her combat against Shigaraki in a second. But we see that All For One wouldn't talk like that. So that seems like Shigaraki. But at the same time, we see that, like, it's weird. Shigaraki doesn't talk like this, but Shigaraki also talks like this. Like, there are two different sides. Like, you can definitely see the back and forth, the mixing, the different control. And then we get to see, I'm not exactly sure what happens here. Like, Horikoshi is usually really good at, like, conveying panel action, but in this moment I'm kind of confused. Like, Shigaraki goes on this whole tangent about how, like, if I weren't your enemy, my life would have ended before I could even get the chance to complain about my lack of strength, as if I let you kill me that easily. We see what I think is the Nomu, then it explodes, but it doesn't do any real damage to anything, and we just cut to the next page and see Shigaraki on top of a plane, and then, like, I don't know, the translator itself says All For One is talking here, but I feel like All For One's talking a lot before this, and apparently this is Shigaraki declaring he's going to put the quirk to better use. I don't know, that was just a weird interaction. So, like, did the Nomu blow up? And if so, why? It didn't seem to do anything. That just seemed like weird panel eating time. And then we get to see that somehow, some way, this man, Shigaraki, is like, he is essentially on a plane in range of this air construct that all Star would have to do is just clap her hands together. And in that moment, she would crush the plane, crush Shigaraki, and considering her air construct hand was able to hold multiple Tiamats holding together and crush them all and survive just fine, she would literally probably be able to cup the explosion in the air construct's hand while applying pressure, concentrating the explosion on top of Shigaraki, and possibly killing him in this highly damaged state that he's in right now, because even as he's regenerating, he isn't fully regenerated back yet. So this would be Star's chance to kill him. Except Star just doesn't. She remembers her friend who's in that plane, her bro, and she lets herself get grabbed. And that's the end of the chapter. Now, Star doesn't necessarily lose here immediately. I was kind of kidding. I don't think Star has, like, fully lost, because even the ending chapter has some really vague dialogue, like, those hands managed to reach their target. What's the outcome of this decisive battle? Bada bing, bada boom. So there could be more, but I think the best outcome is a theory that I've seen a lot of people talking about throughout the day, and that's Star just making herself quirkless, so she just dies. And Shigaraki gets nothing. Because, like, to be fair, if Shigaraki / All For One got their hands on New Order, they would bolo the verse, not gonna lie. Like, there's no one else in the specific circumstances that, if you were to take any other character here, and I'm being like, maybe the only exception possibly is like a Prime All Might and maybe another Prime All For One. But I feel like if you were to take any other character in the series that we've seen up to this point and put them through the exact same thing that Shigaraki did, as Shigaraki himself admits, they wouldn't have lived that at all. They wouldn't have been able to do anything in that specific scenario, and they would have died. So, I don't know. And you got to realize, Shigaraki, if he gets his hands on New Order, could do the exact same thing to everyone else, except for the Tiamat thing. But can you imagine a gigantic 1,000 foot tall Shigaraki construct following his every movement as he himself is rampaging? They're done, son. Can you imagine Shigaraki literally just because he managed to live it, so he just takes a deep breath and says, the air for 1,000 meters around me doesn't exist anymore, and everyone suffocates? Like, that's a GG for pretty much the entire verse, not gonna lie. Like, no one out there is really about that action in the way that Shigaraki would be about that action with New Order. And let me get into Stars and Stripe usage of New Order. I don't think she was creative enough with it. I feel like after the first, like, hacks failure, which was the air not working, the air, like, not existing, not working, I feel like she leaped way too much into a power dynamic kind of fight. against a person who's specifically built to go against that. And she witnessed that. Like, she saw and acknowledged that Shigaraki was a bit too, like, durable and had way too good of healing to be dealing with him, like, in a physical fashion. So, and the thing is, it's not like Star and Stripe had a bad idea with calling in Tiamat. Because as Shigaraki himself admits, if it landed, he would have been dead. But, at least in my mind, if I'm Star and Stripe in this moment, I'm going to not try to simply physically bust him down to atoms, because he can always dodge, he can always avoid, he can always do whatever he can if really need be. Like, imagine if Shigaraki intercepted Tiamat and just, I mean, to be fair, he was being held down in that moment, so I won't give him that. But, like, imagine if in the gigantic explosion, instead of just eating it, face taking it like Shigaraki did, he did the exact same thing with the lasers and reflect plus scatter and destroyed everything. Like, the fact that Shigaraki didn't do that against the lasers when he was being pinned down by them was just a courtesy. If I'm Star and Stripe in this moment, I'm literally trying everything I can do to whatever air Shigaraki is nearby. Like, the air is poisonous, the air is sulfur, the air eats away at human flesh or something like something. I'm not trying to outbox Shigaraki. This is simply not something I can do as a physical individual. Even when she mollywopped that man dead in the face, it didn't do much damage. And if you really do have to go the physical route, hide inside the air construct and just go wild. Like, just start bullying this man, like, repeatedly. I don't care how many beatdowns it takes. Obviously, the man can't get through it. It seemed like it was just beyond his measure. Like, Tiamat parted the clouds, but so did a clap from the air construct. Like, worse comes to worse. I'm not trying to call in no intercontinentalistic, ballistic, majestic missiles. I'm just straight up swinging with the air construct. And the thing is, I feel like you could just be more abstract than New Order, especially considering how abstract it seems to be already. You could just be bullying this man in multiple different ways. You could make the water poisonous. You could literally, the moment she could literally been like, I mean, that would have been dangerous to her too. That's the thing. That's the only reason I see why she wouldn't want to risk doing certain things that may affect a general populace. And that's why she said the air, that 100 meters in front of her or whatever disappears. But I feel like if you want to take out this ballistic level threat and you're willing to risk everything, literally risk your life by grabbing Tiamat, like she said, it would literally blow her arm off. I think you can make the air poisonous. I think you could do something like. Hey, are y'all feeling me? Y'all feeling me on this? Do you think Star and Stripe could have done more with New Order, more on the hack side, rather than just trying to beat him down physically? And what do you think is going to happen next chapter? Because I think, if anything, she's going to make herself quirkless, or she's just going to disintegrate before, like, Shigaraki and All For One's conflicting ideas of, like, oh, I want to kill her. Oh, I want to disintegrate her. No, oh, I want to kill her. Oh, I want her quirk. They're, like, the nature of Shigaraki's quirk is going to overwhelm All For One's quirk before it can happen. And she's just going to, like, disintegrate in his hands before he can obtain her quirk, or she makes herself quirkless and lets herself die, which would be good for, like, everyone else, because no one has to deal with New Order and Shigaraki, but at the same time, all her friends still die, which kind of makes the sacrifice of her life for the one friend not as poignant. Or she gets saved, and we did see Endeavor notice that she was in need of help. And the thing is, Shigaraki's hand is right on her face. Endeavor would literally have to burn her alive too in order to save face. But yeah, I don't know. To be fair, I'm not gonna lie. Just due to, like, this chapter did feel a bit messy. It did feel a little bit. Was it short? Was it a short chapter? No, this was actually a pretty long chapter. This was 17 pages, 16 pages. That's longer than the last couple chapters. I don't know. Like, as cool as the punch was and as great as the art was, like, this chapter didn't have much in it that, like, maybe goes crazy. Like, it's a 7 out of 10. It's a solid 7 out of 10. It's cool to see more of Cassie's backstory. It's cool to get her actual name and stuff like that. But yeah, not much in this chapter is really, like, 11 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10. Like, I'm screaming in my seat. It was pretty good. But that's what I think. Y'all may think, honestly, I may be being too harsh right now. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please remember to like, share, comment, and subscribe. And I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is that guy with the pencil, writing off.